In this lesson, we're going to learn about three quadratic identities that we can use when multiplying or expanding two brackets. This method is called quadratic identity expansion technique. But before we learn that technique, we need to understand a couple of things. We need to understand what this means and what this means. In this one, when you have a plus b squared, it simply means you multiply this bracket by itself. So you're going to have a plus b, you multiply by a plus b. For the second instance, when you have a minus b squared, it simply means you multiply the bracket a minus b with itself again, a minus b. For us to be able to use this technique of expansion, we need to understand about three rules that guides this technique. These three rules are as follows. Number one, the elements inside the brackets must be 2, and they must be separated by either a positive or a negative sign, or a combination of both. So we are saying the elements must be 2, and when we refer to elements, we refer to terms. They can be constants, and they can be variables, or a combination of any of this. But we are saying they must be separated by either a positive sign or a negative sign. The second rule is that these two elements, in their corresponding positions, they must be similar. So corresponding elements must be similar. Let me explain this rule. In these instances, if we just look at these two brackets, these two brackets, and these two brackets, look at the corresponding elements in each bracket. The first element in the first bracket is similar to the first element in the second bracket. Also, the second element in the first bracket is similar to the second element in the second bracket. And this is applying for these two brackets as well as to these brackets. The only difference is the signs separating elements in each bracket. For the first case, both the signs are positive. In the second case, both the signs are negative. But in the third case, we have a positive and a negative. The last rule that guides us is that we only apply this technique when we are multiplying or expanding two brackets. So we cannot apply it when you have more than two brackets. That one would work for this technique. So in using this technique, there are different steps we follow. And we're going to start with the first instance. And the steps are as follows. Whenever you have a positive and this bracket has two elements and you're squaring this bracket, which means that you're multiplying that bracket by itself, this is the procedure. You take the first element, you square it. So a squared is going to give us a squared. Then the sign between them is a plus. Then you find the product of the two terms. That is, the two elements, you multiply them, then you double them. So in this case, a times b is going to be ab double, that is, you multiply by 2, is going to give us 2ab. Then take the second element and square it. And therefore, b squared is going to give us a b squared. And this is going to be the expanded form of this expansion. For the second case, or the second example, the difference with the first one is this sign negative. But the procedure of the expansion is the same. So you need to take the first element and square it. And that's going to give us a squared. But since they are separated the negative sign, you must put a negative sign. Then find the product of the two and then double that. The product of AB, A times B is AB. Then AB doubled is going to be 2AB. Then this one is always a plus because when you take negative B squared, it's just going to give you a positive B squared. And if you want to learn how to multiply negative numbers and also open brackets using negative numbers, you can follow the link in the description box below or the link above. So this is the expansion of this format here. The last case, you can see we have two brackets, but the sign between these two brackets are different. For this kind of expansion, we follow a little bit different procedure as compared to the first and the second. For this one, we take the one that has the negative sign. Then we take the first term, we square it, we put the negative sign, and always is a negative sign. Then you take the second element squared. So negative b squared is going to be positive b squared. And this is the expansion of these brackets there. Let us use some couple of examples we can use to illustrate this technique. So we're going to take the first example. We solve it using the quadratic identity expansion technique. And then you're going to use the normal method of expansion to see if we get the same answer. So we're going to start with method 1. And method 1 is going to be the quadratic identity expansion technique. Then you're going to use the normal method. So in this case, let us start. We say that for this quadratic identity expansion technique, when you have a plus, you need to take the first term and then you square it. So 2x squared is going to give us 4x squared. Then get the product of the two terms. 2x times 6 is going to give us 12x. Then double that. That is going to be equal to 24x. Then take the second element and then square it. 6 squared is going to give us 36. And this is the expansion of these brackets there. So let's look at the normal method. I'm going to call it the method 2 to prove if this is true. So we know that 2x plus 6 into bracket squared simply means 2x plus 6, you multiply by 2x plus a 6. To expand this bracket, you're going to take the elements of the first bracket, we multiply by the entire of the second bracket, each at a time. So we'll have 2x into bracket 2x plus 6. Then you take the second element, you multiply by the entire of the second bracket, 2x plus 6. Then you need to expand these and then put like terms together and simplify. So expanding the first bracket, you're going to have 2x times 2x is going to give us 4x squared. Then 2x times 6 is going to give us plus 12x. Opening the second bracket, 2x times 6 is going to give us positive 12x. Then 6 times 6 is going to give us a positive 36. When you put the like terms together, 12x plus 12x is going to give us 24x. And therefore, our final answer is going to be 4x squared plus 24x plus a 36. And as you can see, this final answer here is exactly the same as what we got when we used the quadratic identity expansion technique. So we look at example 2 for both the methods. We start with the method 1. And method 1 is going to be the quadratic identity expansion technique. We said for this instance, since they are separated the negative sign, there are two terms, and then we are squaring them, we can use that identity. We need to take the first element, we square it. In this case is m, so m squared is going to give us m squared. The sign between them is a minus. Then you multiply the two elements, 3 times m, you get 3m, then double that. That's going to be 6m. Then you take the second element squared. Negative 3 squared is going to give us a positive 9. And this is the expanded form of this bracket here. So you can take the same and use method 2 to see if we get the same answer. And method 2, you're going to expand the normal way. So you're going to say you have m minus 3 squared, and this simply means it is m minus 3. We multiply by m minus 3. To expand this, you take the elements of the first bracket m, you multiply by the second bracket m minus 3. Then you take the second element of the first bracket, you multiply by the second bracket, then expand and simplify. So in this case, expanding the first bracket, m times m is going to be m squared. Then m times negative 3 is going to give us negative 3m. Then opening the second bracket, negative 3 times m is going to give me negative 3m. Then negative 3 times negative 3 is going to be a positive 9. Then you put the like terms together and then simplify. When you do that, the final answer is going to be m squared minus 3m is going to be negative 6m, then positive 9. And this is our final expanded form that is exactly the same as what we got when we used the quadratic identity expansion technique. We look at the last example, and we have two brackets here. And as you can see, the elements which corresponds, they are similar. They're separated, the plus and a negative sign, which means that the rules apply here. To do this expansion, we said, using the first method, that is the quadratic identity expansion technique, method 1, you just need to come and check the bracket that has a negative sign. So in this case is this one. So you square the first element, in this case is 2p squared, that is going to give you 4p squared. The sign between them is a negative. Then square the second element, 4 squared is 16. And this is going to be the expanded form of these two brackets. But you can prove that using method 2. So for method 2, let me just clear some space for that so that you can get somewhere to write on. So we prove this using method 2. And we are going to take the two brackets, that is 2p plus 4 multiplied by 2p minus 4. So we're going to take the element of the first bracket, we multiply by the second bracket entirely. So in this case, you're going to have 2p, you multiply by 2p minus 4. Then you take the second element plus 4, you multiply by the second bracket, 2p minus 4. Then you expand and simplify. Expanding the first bracket is 2p times 2p is going to give us 4p squared. 2p times negative 4 is going to give us negative 8p. Then the second bracket, 4 multiplied by 2p is going to give us positive 8p. Then positive 4 times negative 4 is going to give us negative 16. When you put the like terms together, we have negative 8p plus 8p. They are going to cancel out. And therefore, the final answer is going to be 4p squared minus 16. And that is going to be our final expanded form of our bracket. And it's very, very similar. Actually, it's the same as what we got when we used the quadratic identity expansion technique. So as you can see, this quadratic identity expansion technique is short, time-saving, and precise. But you must be very cautious here that when applying this technique, the 3 rules must apply. If they don't apply, don't attempt to apply this technique. Just use the normal expansion method for your expansion. That brings us to the end of this lesson. Hoping it's going to help you at some point. Thank you for watching.